Hey you guys, today I'm going to show you my recipe for British style scones. These are absolutely incredible. If you've never had a British style scone, you are in for a real treat. To me, it's kind of like a cross between an American biscuit and a regular scone or an American style scone. Way less sweet. You can put plenty of things on them. So let's get into it. So we're starting with my Kim's gluten-free all-purpose flour blend. You will find the recipe for this on my website in so many different places, including linked within this recipe. And to that, we're adding baking powder and a little bit of sugar. There's not a whole lot of sugar in this recipe because you will get the sweetness from whatever you put on the scone or in the scone. So to that, we are adding some butter, and this is really soft butter. And we're going to work it in. I'm just using my hands here. You can use like a fork or a pastry blender or whatever. You just want to get it to a really actually fine sand consistency. It's almost like wet sand. So now that we've got that mixed together, let's set that aside and we'll mix together our dry ingredients, and that is just simply some whole milk and eggs. I've heard from different people across the pond who say, oh no, there are no eggs in English scones. And then several people tell me, oh yes, there are eggs in English scones. So I think it just matters with who you talk to. So this particular recipe is loosely based off a place, an establishment in England who gives out the recipe. So I'm going by what they said, and then I made it gluten-free myself. So we're going to take a little bit of the liquid and mix it in first because we may not need all of this liquid. But for now, we do need some more of this liquid because it is way too dry. So don't add all of it. And what the consistency you're looking for here is to where it's wet, but not totally sticky to where it's all sticking to your fingers. And what I like to do is cover this with plastic wrap and get it in the fridge for about 30 minutes. And that allows the gluten-free flours to soak up more of the liquid. And then we end up with the perfect consistency of the dough, which is right here. As you can see, it's soaked up a little more of that liquid. So now we're at a perfect time to roll out our dough. So we get it down onto a floured surface and begin rolling it. And I'm just taking the entire bit of dough and I'm going to sprinkle some more of my all-purpose flour blend and just briefly knead it. You don't need to go crazy here, just a simple knead just to get it together. And then once that's together, we can pat it or roll it into a pretty thick circle, which is roughly about, I would say, an inch thick or so. Because you want nice high rising scones. And you can take a fluted cutter like this or a straight cutter. It doesn't matter. Whichever you want to use is perfectly fine. And you can also re-roll the scraps if you have any. So now we're going to brush the tops with our leftover milk mixture. And then what we want to do is let them sit on the baking sheet while we preheat our oven to 425F, which will take a couple minutes, and this will allow the baking powder to begin activating. And then we'll bake the scones for 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes 20 for larger ones. These were baked for about 15 minutes, and you can see they doubled, nearly tripled in size. They're light and they're lightly golden brown, and they are just incredible, you guys. Now, what they say over across the pond, I hear, is that you need to serve them with cream and jam. This is my homemade clotted cream. If you've never had clotted cream, or if you cannot find clotted cream in your area, like it is really, really hard to find here where I live in Virginia. If you do find it, it's like the tiniest bottle for the most expensive price. And if you make it yourself, you are in for a real treat because this is just heaven. I'm telling you, just heaven. So I wish we had it closer to us here in the States. And then I'm going to top it with jam. I think there's a highly debated question as to whether to start with the cream and then jam, or start with the jam and then cream. I'm doing cream and then jam, but whatever way you do it, it's all going to be absolutely delicious. And I hope you get a chance to make these. You will be in for such a treat. You can serve them for breakfast, or if you are having a tea, you can do that. Here in the States, I know we don't do that like much around here, but I enjoy my tea and I would love a scone with tea. So I hope you enjoy.